How to plan and photograph Comet 2022 E3 ZTF step by step. Hello, PhotoPiller, Rafael the Bar here. Exciting news! For the first time in 50,000 years, the Comet 2022 E3 ZTF is visiting us, and it's getting brighter and brighter. From the northern hemisphere on February 1st and 2nd, it might even be visible to the naked eye. This is when the comet will make its closest approach to Earth. If it finally becomes visible to the naked eye, it will be fantastic to photograph the green comet at its tail. Also, if at the end it's not visible to the naked eye, well, it will be visible using binoculars, a telescope, or your camera. And cameras on star trackers are even better to photograph it. So in this video I want to give you all you need to photograph the comet. When and where the comet will be visible, all the gear you need, and all the camera settings you need to nail your shot of the comet. Ready? Let's go! Comet 2022 E3 ZTF is expected to be the brightest comet of the year. According to NASA, the comet will be closest to Earth. You will have its closest approach to Earth on February 1st and 2nd. At the same time, on those days, it's predicted to reach a magnitude of 5, or around 5, which is great news because, as you know, celestial bodies with magnitudes below 6 are visible to the naked eye. So the lower the magnitude, the brighter the comet will be, giving us a fantastic opportunity to photograph the green comet and its tail. So the question is, when is the best time to photograph the Comet 2022 A3 ZTF? And where in the sky will we find the comet? Well, we already know the best days, right? On February 1st and February 2nd, when the comet makes its closest approach to Earth. It's supposed to be visible to the naked eye. And where we will find the comet in the sky? Where will the comet be? On those dates, the comet will be visible at night only from the northern hemisphere. And you'll find it near the Polaris, the North Star. So, to locate it, when you're in the field, you need to locate the Polaris. So go to PhotoPills and tap on the Night AR button here in the Pills menu, and here we have the Polaris, and the comet will be around the Polaris, the North Star, so around here. You can miss it, just tap on the Night AR, find the Polaris, and you'll see the comet next to it. Cool! One thing you need to consider is the moon. So you want to know where the moon will be on February 1st and 2nd. Let's set the date. Go tap on Settings, and here on Date, let's set the date to February 1st. Perfect. And now what we'll see is what's going on February 1st. Okay, the Polaris is at the same position, so the comet will be around here, and the moon at the time at night. Let's swipe the time until it's nighttime. Let's look for the moon. Where is the moon? Oh, here, I have the path of the moon, and the moon, wow, will be here. The Polaris is here, so the moon will be not far away from the Polaris. So the moon will be bright above the horizon. It might be difficult to photograph the stars with such a huge moon. We hope we can still see the comet next the Polaris. So take into account, when you're photographing the comet, you need to take into account the light of the moon, because the moon will be right there, not far away from the Polaris, so not far away from the comet. Might be a challenge, but give it a try. Okay, now that you know when and where the Comet 2022 E3 ZTF will be visible to the naked eye, I invite you to find a cool location and use PhotoPills Night Augmented Review to plan your shot. It's much easier when you are in the field, believe me. Perfecto, let's see now the gear you need to photograph the comet. Let's go! To photograph the Comet 2022 E3 ZTF, you'll need your camera, of course, a sturdy tripod on head, and a shutter release or an intervalometer. Because the less you touch the camera, the better. The last thing you want is to introduce vibrations into the system when you're photographing the comets, because vibrations produce blurry images. So use an intervalometer or a shutter release. Regarding the lens choice, you choose a long lens, a telephoto lens, to photograph a close-up of the comet. 200, 300, 400 mil or more. Or even use a telescope if you have one. And when the comet reaches its lowest point, when it's closest to the horizon, to the ground level, then maybe shoot a panorama or vertorama, capturing a bit of the landscape and your subject and the comet high above it. Also, if you have an equatorial mount star tracker, use it. It will allow you to shoot much longer exposures, so it will capture a much strong comet and tail, much more spectacular. And if you wish to learn how to use a star tracker to photograph comets or the stars or the Milky Way, I recommend you to watch this masterclass here by Dan Safra. It's amazing, watch it. Great, now that you have the plan and you need to photograph the Comet 2022 A3 ZTF, let's see how to actually photograph it. Let's see the camera settings you need to nail your shot. Let's go. Okay, you wish to shoot a close-up of the comet, use the longer lens you have available, 200, 300, 400 mm are great, or even more. Use the widest aperture available on your lens to capture as much light as possible. But if you're using a motorized equatorial mount or star tracker, I recommend you to close the aperture, the maximum aperture, to close the maximum aperture by 1 or 2 stops to get a better image quality. For example, from f2.8, close it to f4. Where to focus? Easy, focus on the comet, because you want it as sharp as possible. And if you decide to include the landscape or powerful subject, then take a second shot focusing on the landscape or on your subject. So you can use that image as your base image, play with the image of the comet. Now set the shutter speed between 1 and 2 seconds to start with, and be ready to adjust it if needed. Remember that you'll have to limit your exposure time to prevent the stars and the comet to appear as trails in the photo. If you want to be more accurate on the maximum exposure time you can use to prevent the stars from trailing, you can go to the PhotoPills menu and tap on Spot the Stars. And here you select your camera, the Nikon Z6, which is a full frame, for example. Set your focal length and the aperture and the declination to 0, default mode as accurate mode. And the MPF rule will tell you the maximum exposure time you can use to prevent the stars from trailing with these settings. So as you see, it's between 1 and 2 seconds. Why? Because you're using a telephoto lens. You know that when you shoot a close-up, it's easier to get the stars. So you need to limit a lot your exposure time if you want to get pinpoint the stars or the meteor pinpoint in your photo. Obviously, this is not true if you're using a star tracker, which allows you to track the rotation of the Earth, so you can shoot a much longer exposure time to capture detail and to capture a more powerful photo of the comet. In this case, depending on the moonlight you have in the scene, you'll be able to shoot for 10, 20, 30 seconds, no problem. But again, remember that the moon will be above the horizon, so keep an eye on the light of the moon and do not overexpose your photo. And finally, given the aperture and the shutter speed, set the ISO you need to correctly expose your comet shot. Set the ISO to 800, 1600, 3200 or more. And again, when you're using an equatorial mount star tracker, usually you don't need to push the ISO above 800. Now take a test shot and check that the image looks good, and if not, make the necessary adjustments. And finally, take between 15 and 20 shots to stack them in post and get an image with much more quality, with much more detail on the comet. And this is how you can photograph the Comet 2022 A3 ZTF. As always, if you have a question, if you need more help, just leave a comment below. And if you wish to learn how to plan and photograph all the cool astronomical events, I invite you to read, download, and study well our super detailed astronomical events photography guide. I'm gonna leave a link in the description of this video and in the first comment below. Download it. And as always, if you like this video, give me a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next Wednesday in another video. And remember that you have the power to imagine, plan, and shoot legendary photos. Bye.